Hi everyone, my name is Kat, or the Fairy Librarian, and welcome to another reading vlog. I'll start off by showing books that I'm currently reading. So I am still slowly but surely working my way through The Mistletoe Bride and Other Haunting Tales. I read 2 more short stories in this since we last spoke, so I'll just talk about them. The first one is The Princess Alice, which is about a woman who hears like a voice crying at night, and she wants to know who this person is. This one was okay. I thought that she solved the mystery of who this person was pretty quickly, and she sort of draw conclusions very quickly that like maybe turned out to be right, but I don't think there was enough indication for her to definitively say that this was a solution, and so I thought it was a little bit odd, because like a lot of the solution of it and her finding it is her making assumptions that she doesn't really have like evidence or an indication for, which I didn't love. I wish there was a bit more like, there could have been like a really small thing of, hey, this is why I think that, rather than, would it be possible? What if this would be true? Then this could also be true. And so that would have made it a little bit more satisfying, I think. So yeah, that wasn't my favorite story. And the second one I read was really, really short, and that was At Night in the Theater. Is that what it's called? In the Theater at Night. And that one didn't really have a plot. It was just like, you know, at night when everyone's gone, then like the costumes and stuff come to life. I think it was like 4 pages. It was really, really short, but I liked it. I thought it was fun. It was very, as I said, it didn't really have plot, so it was a lot more description of things and of like events that happen every night. But you know, I thought it was fun. Didn't overstay its welcome. So yeah, I did like that one a bit more. I now have one story left that's actually a story, and then there is like a little screenplay in the back. So I'll read those 2, and I would like to finish this book this week during this vlog. Then I'm also still reading The Will of the Many. I am not quite halfway through. My goal was to finish this last week. That didn't happen. I'm gonna set another ambitious goal to finish it this week, and I'm gonna try and make that happen, but I don't know if it will. But I am really enjoying this. I'm liking Fizz's main character. I'm liking the plot. We got to like the school setting, so I think that's fun. I like the world building and the magic system, even though I would like a bit more information on the world building. Maybe that will come. Maybe it will come in later books. But yeah, there are certain elements that I think could use a bit more explanation. I'm really liking the actual writing in this as well. Yeah, the writing style is really something that I like. So yeah, I am enjoying this. I'm not gonna say it reads super quickly in terms of like the time I spend per page. But whenever I'm reading this, time just doesn't exist anymore. And I am so sucked in and I can just keep reading it. So yeah. Then I'm also reading Bookshops and Bonedust by Travis Baldree. I'm 20% into that one. It's a book that I enjoy while I'm reading it, but I'm never like in a rush to pick it back up. So that one's not going to be a priority for this week. I am going to Rome the first week of April, so I'll probably just read it on the plane. And then see how far I get there. That's my plan for now. I'm not gonna, if I end up like really feeling like reading it and I do, then I'm not gonna be mad about it. But if not, like, it's fine. Then I'm also still listening to The Fire Prophecy by Megan Linski and Alicia Rades, which I'm really enjoying. I'll probably listen to more of that this week. I don't know if I'm going to finish it this week, but I definitely want to finish it before I go to Rome. But those books will be put on pause for now because this weekend it is Peace Talks, which is a 48-hour readathon within Realmathon. Where you get extra points for every book you finish during that time. So I have a lot of like short books and quicker books put in a spinner wheel, and I'm going to spin it to figure out, because it's a prompt, like one of the prompts is decide via spinner wheel, and you get like 4 points for that. So I'm gonna do that all weekend, and so I don't really have control about what I read. I put a bunch of options in there, so I don't know what will come up. I'll try and like screen record the spins and then come back after the weekend to talk about the books, because I'm not going to be updating during the weekend. There is one book that I'm going to put in a spinner wheel. I kind of hope it doesn't come up during the weekend, because I do think it'll take me a little bit longer to read. But I do need to read it this month, so if it doesn't, then it'll also happen like during the rest of the vlog, which I'm going to extend till like usually I go Wednesday to Wednesday, maybe Thursday if I forget, but now I'm gonna extend it to like Friday because of my trip to Rome, so there won't be a vlog there. So then those 2 extra days are also going to be in this vlog, and somewhere either like in the week or in the weekend maybe, but somewhere this month at least, I need to read Sorcery by Terry Pratchett, because I made myself a goal to read a disco book a month, and I haven't read my disco book for March yet, so I still need to do it. Like I could probably read this in a day, like I've done that with disco books, but I won't be able to read something else during that day, and I would like to read a few, like some more during Peace Talks than just read this book one day and then only have one more day to read other stuff. So it isn't a spinner wheel, but I'm kind of hoping it won't come up, and I can read it after. Other than that, it's gonna be a surprise we're gonna get. So yeah, we'll find out together. Bye. Hi, it is Tuesday, and I'm here to tell you what I read during the weekend. It was a very successful reading weekend for me. Like not successful in other fronts, because I literally put off doing anything else. But yeah, I'm here to give you the results of the weekend. I ended up reading 10 books, and I started one more, but so the read along went from 7 p.m. on Friday to 7 p.m. on Sunday, but we could choose if you wanted to do it in our own time zone or in Eastern time, which is what the host would do. And I decided to also do Eastern time with them because that meant that for me it would be midnight to midnight, which I thought was nice. But that meant that I was trying to like really quickly finish the final book, but I was too tired and I noticed that I wasn't giving it the attention, or I wasn't able to give it the attention that it deserved and I wanted to give it. So I decided to just stop reading it, go to bed, and just finish it. I haven't finished it yet. I'm still in the middle of it, but probably today. I hope today. So I'm gonna go over them, but because it's 10 books, I maybe have to not do this all now because I have class to go to today as well. So we'll see how much I get done. Maybe tomorrow I'll finish wrapping up the rest of the weekend. But so let's see what the first spin was. So the first book that I got was Heartstopper Volume 1 by Alice Oseman. This is a YA graphic novel, like contemporary romance between Nick and Charlie. I have heard great things about this. I've heard it's just really cute and wholesome, and it was. We have Charlie who worries a lot about a lot of stuff. And I kind of recognized myself in Charlie in a few moments. And just, yeah, it was just really cute. And yeah, it took me a little while to get into the art style. Because if you're a regular on the channel, you may know that I am much more familiar with Franco-Belgian comics, which is a very different style from this book. So it took me a little while to get used to it, but I ended up really liking it. I was just smiling, and yeah, it was so heartwarming and wholesome. So I ended up giving it 5 stars. For the prompts that I used it for, I used this to defend, so to increase the points for my own team. And it didn't get a page bonus because graphic novels just generally don't get a page bonus. Also, it wasn't long enough to get one anyway, I believe. But it get 10 bonus points because I read it during Peace Talks, which is a 40-hour readathon. I got 10 points for it being a school setting, and I got 10 points for being a primarily blue cover. It is sort of like a greenish blue, but when I was submitting the points, like in the lighting that I was in, it did look very blue. In a different lighting, it looked a bit more green, so I hope I didn't cheat there. But like, I think it could be sort of like, it's very in between those two colors, so I think it's yeah, I think it could also count as a blue cover. Then for the regular prompts, I read it in one sitting, which gives me 1 point. It has an even amount of letters in the title, which gives me 3 points. It's a popcorn read, so I have another 3 point. I consider romance as always a popcorn read. It was a book I paid for because I bought this myself, which gives me 4 points, and a 5-star reads, which gives me 5 points, which means that in total I got 46 points for this book. And this was actually really nice because I finished it on the first evening of the weekend. I was really happy with this spin because it meant that I could finish a book the first evening and get sort of like start off on the right foot. And right after I finished this, I went to bed and then continued reading the next morning with the next book. So that second book was Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi. I was a little nervous going into it because there is a booktuber that, like, whose reviews I really trust. Her name is Plant-Based Bride. I'll link her in the description. And she has read this and she didn't like it because she thought the writing wasn't, like, she didn't like the writing that was overly descriptive in some areas. And just, yeah, she didn't like it, and unfortunately I have to agree with her. I really could not stand the writing of this. Just like the sentences itself didn't flow nicely in my head, which that could be because of the translation. Like, that's possible. But also just, it was a lot of telling and not a lot of showing. It was indeed like very descriptive in some areas and lacking description in other areas. Like, every time a customer paid, we got what their order was and how much it cost, and they paid with a note of this much and a coin that is worth this much, and then so they paid this in total, and then this is their change. And I'm like, I don't need to know this every time. And so it was like a little tedious in that regard because we got a lot of description of those things that didn't matter. So yeah. Also, there was one in the second story, because this is, if you don't know, this is a magical realism book about this one cafe in Japan where you can travel through time. But there are very specific rules. You have to sit in a specific seat, and there's a few more rules, and you get the time from when your coffee is poured to when it has gone cold. And just the way the rules were explained was kind of weird, because we had the waitress listing the rules for a customer, but then like 2 or 3 times we go, oh yeah, there's one more rule I haven't told you about. And just like, if the customer would be asking like, oh, can I do this, then like, and then you could answer, and then that could have been a way to like delay giving them like the final rule, or if it's just like a conversation. But she's literally, these are the rules, and she starts listing them, and then she's like, oh yeah, there's one more that I haven't talked to you about. Oh, there is one more that I haven't talked about. Oh yeah, there's yet another one I haven't talked to you about yet. And I just got really annoyed with that, because it was so weird to me. So yeah, there are 4 chapters. They're like 4 different stories of different people who time travel for different reasons. In the second story, there is one who has early onset Alzheimer's. And I get that you want to give some information about that, but it felt like I was reading an excerpt from a textbook on early onset Alzheimer's. And I didn't like the way that was integrated into the story. Like, the writing of this just really wasn't for me. And like, I had to drag myself to the 50% so I could count it for Realmathon, because I was already at 30%, and I was like, ugh, I read so much already, might as well get some points for it. But yeah, I didn't want to finish this book, so I, like, the moment I hit 50%, I quit. But I did decide to attack with this book, so decrease another team's points. And I decided to attack team time. For prompts, I use a spinner wheel pick, which you saw that it was picked by a spinner wheel. An anti-recommendation because Plain Base Bride said she didn't like it. It was published before 2018, so like spinner wheel was 4 points. Anti-Rec was 3 points. Before 2018 was also 3 points. It features romance, like the first story was literally called The Lovers, and it also features death in one of the stories. Not one that I've read, but I thought like the premise of it kind of lend itself to like talk to someone who has passed. And I asked and looked up some spoilery reviews, and there is one story where like death plays an important role, so I counted it. It also has an animal on the cover, which is the cover item for team creation, so that's another 10 points, which means I have 24 points to attack team time with. I thought team time was kind of appropriate because it's a time travel story. And I read it during peace talks, which means I get 10 points for my team. Those are always positive. So, on to the next. Then I read The Journey by James Norbury, which is the second book in the Big Panda and Tiny Dragon series. I know that the spinner wheel just says Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. That was because if I put The Journey on there, when I spin it, I wouldn't know what it was. So I decided to do that to make it convenient for myself. But they're companioned, so you can read them out of order, and I decided to read the second one first. For 2 reasons. One, it was a gift for my mom, and she didn't know it was a series, so she gave me the second one, so I don't own the first one. So I couldn't read the first one, and second, also this one has a blue cover. The first one has a white cover, and blue is the cover color for team creation, so I get more points for it. So I decided to read this one first. I do want to read the first one, but it just didn't happen this weekend. For this one, it was lovely. Like, maybe it's cliche, but I really love these type of books. Like, yes, they're cheesy and on the nose, but they're just so heartwarming and wholesome and beautiful, and I love them. It's like, if you like The Boy, the Mold, Fox, and Horse, you'll probably like this too. I did also really like The Boy, the Mold, Fox, and Horse. But the illustrations in here I really, really loved as well. We're like, James Norbury used a lot of different mediums. So we have some like pencil sketches, we have some aquarelle, like watercolor, we have, what else did we have? I know, but we also have a mix between some were just black and white, some were in color, and the one that were in color were just, like, those colors were absolutely stunning. So yeah, I really, really loved this. I don't have a ton to say, but I really liked it. I liked the messaging, I liked the execution. So yeah, I did also use this to attack because attacking would have given me more points than defending. And I decided to attack Team Blood because there wasn't really a reason to attack any of the teams, so I just picked a random one and I chose Blood. So it has a team-related word in the title. It has, like, for creation we could use life, so I think species of animals also count in that, so panda would be a team-related word. Because the English title is just The Journey, but the Dutch title, which is the version that I read, because you count the edition that you read, is The Journey of Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. So they're like, the title of the book itself also had the word panda in it, so team-related words would give me 5 points. It was spinner wheel pick, which gives me 4 points, and a new to me author, which is 1 point. I didn't get to 5 prompts with this one, unfortunately, but I did have some bonus points because it has a blue cover, as I already mentioned, and also there's an animal on the cover because we have a panda and a dragon, so it gave me 30 attack points, and also I read it during peace talks, so I got 10 defend points. Then I read the longest book that I read during peace talks. I also, I started them in the order that I do these clips and I do the wheels because that's the order I spun them in. But this one I finished pretty late because I it's 400 pages, more than 400 pages. So it took me a little while to finish, and I read it in multiple sittings and read other books in between. But I'll put them here because this is the order in which I started them. But I did quite enjoy this. This is about a boy called Ash, and he lives in this village in a very cold land, very kind of Arctic type of vibes. And so the towns are pretty far apart, and you don't really travel in between because there are these monsters that'll kill you. There is one group of people, they're sort of think pirates. They're very pirate-like, who do travel between. But outside of them, you stay in your village and that's it. Ash's parents have passed away. He's an orphan. And he's sort of struggling with that, but he's placed under the care of a yeti called Tobu. But Ash is sort of shunned a little because there are these type of people. It's really hard to use in magic system related words because I read it in Dutch and they're translated, so I'm not exactly sure what they're called in English. But song weavers, they would be if translated literally. And so they can use magic through songs and not really control the monsters, but influence the monsters with their songs. But people are really scared of the song weavers because what if they use the monsters against them? And so this town has outlawed singing. This town has outlawed singing, but Ash can't help it, and he is actually a song weaver, or whatever the English word is. So he gets banished, and he joins one of these pirate-like people, and the adventure starts because the parents sung this little nursery rhyme for him, and so he realizes that it's actually a clue to find his parents. Because I said they died, that's not true. They disappeared. They didn't really die. So he wants to find them. And I liked this. I did think that I wish there was a little bit more build-up, because we started off right in the middle of action, and it was a little hard to tell what was going on in the first chapter or so, because we didn't really get an introduction. Just names were thrown around, but I didn't we had no clue who these people were. So yeah, I didn't love that. In an adult book, this can work if done well, but I think in a middle grade book, I would have preferred just a little introduction of who the character was, which is my personal preference. But yeah, also just, yeah, there was nothing really wrong with this book, but it just didn't, I don't know, it didn't blow me away either. It's a pirate story, which is not like, I don't dislike pirate stories, but it's not like if I hear pirates, then like, oh, I need to read that like right now. So maybe that could have played a role in it. I don't know what it was. It was just very fine for me and very serviceable, and I like it, and it read very quickly, and I did kind of enjoy it, but I wasn't really blown away by it. And I don't know. Um, I don't really know what my feelings are on this. It did read very quickly. Like, I've never finished a book like that was this many pages this quickly in my life. So I'll give it that. But yeah, it was just fine, I guess. I did use this to defend. So it was between 401 and 600 pages, so I get 20 points for that. It did have a blue cover, which gives me 10 points. It did have an animal in the cover, like in the bottom left corner. There was sort of like whale fish type thingy. So I get 10 points for that. And I read it during peace talks, which gives me also 10 points. I only, those were the bonus prompts. The like actual prompts, I only ended up hitting 3. But it was new to my TBR. I just went to the library one day and decided, hey, how about I take this? It wasn't planned, because if you know me, I plan my reads out very far in advance, and this wasn't really part of the plans. So I would say it's new to my TBR. It was a popcorn read because it's a middle grade. It read very quickly, so I count that as popcorn read. And it was a required read because I got it from the library, so I need to read it before the due date, which means that the book got me a whopping total of 58 points for Realmathon. Then I read The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nghi, the first book in the Singing Hills cycle. And this was great. I really, really loved this. This is about Cleric-Chi, who goes to this like house mansion thing of late Empress, who's was known as the Empress of Salt and Fortune, to investigate about her. And there is this like old woman who lives there and sort of guards the mansion, who was a servant of the Empress. And so she tells Cleric-Chi stories whenever they find an object that has a story attached to it. We get the story of it, and I really liked that structure. I really liked the writing. I thought the plot was very interesting, just the narrative structure with always like them at the house looking for stuff and finding stuff, and then Rabbit, which is the woman's name, telling the story attached to this object. I thought was really fun, and so we get sort of a fragmented version of the Empress's life, but if you put the pieces together, you do get a very full picture, which I really liked. Yeah, it was great. I think this is a book that would also really work on reread. I think it'd be really good for that. But yeah, I really love this. I wanna continue the series. See what Cleric-Chi gets up to in later installments. Because I really like them, and yeah, I liked the story as well. So this one I decided to attack as well, and I've I've attacked time, I've attacked blood, so now let's attack shadows. Because that's the one team that remains. So I use an isolated setting. The Empress was exiled, and so that's where it takes place. So I think that's kind of isolated. Also, this mansion, they are there. They don't really have contact with people outside of the mansion, or like there's no indication of people outside in like nearby. So I do think it counts as an isolated setting. So I get 5 points for that. Spinner will pick, which gives me 4 points. A book featuring a romance. We have a romantic subplot for Rabbit in the story that she tells. So that's 2 points. A story featuring a revenge, and a story featuring death because the Empress has died. We have plenty of death in the book. It also has animal on the cover. It has a lot of animals on the cover. So you get 10 points for that. I have 25 points to attack Team Shadows with, and then 10 points for my own team because I read it during Peace Talks. Then I read The Living Mountain by Nan Shepherd. This is a sort of part memoir, part essay, part description of nature type nonfiction book. Like, you know, like those nature documentaries that are all narrated by David Attenborough? Like, it's one of those, but in book form. And then Shepherd is a Scottish author who really liked hiking, and so she went hiking in the Scottish mountains a lot, and so she describes the nature of that, and it was really interesting because she wrote it in like late 40s, early 50s, but she didn't really do anything with it, and she published it in 1977. And so there is an introduction that is like between me writing the book and me publishing the book. Like, in that 30 years, so much has changed, and this is what all has changed. And it was a little depressing, actually. And like, just imagine what would have changed between her publishing the book in 1977 and me reading the book in 2024. Like, in that, what is that, 45 years? Like, I imagine a lot has changed as well, and it just makes me a little sad to think about, because like the changes that were done were often like kind of harmful for nature, or could be very harmful for nature. So yeah, that's sad. But the book itself, I think it's very well written. The writing style is very lyrical, and it's yeah, there's a lot of things to like, and just reflecting on nature and like why nature is so like important, and why some people really thrive up in the mountains while others really don't. And just like, yeah, you can tell that Nan Shepherd has a deep love for these mountains. The problem for me was I'd never read a book like this before. I'd never really like thought I would read this. I just went to the library one day and I asked the librarian, like, recommend me a book, like any book, and he gave me this, and he's like, I don't know if this is something for you, because he knows who I am. It's a pretty small library and I come there quite often, and usually when I'm there he's working. So he knows who I am. He's like, I don't know if this is your thing, but I know you read pretty like a lot of different things, so maybe you'll like it too. And so yeah, this was my first book like this, and reading it just makes me realize that this is not the type of thing I want to read in a book. I would much rather see a documentary, because that way you can also like actually see the things that they're describing. Because when I read, I see things like, it's not like a movie necessarily in my brain, but like I do get images in my brain, but they're more static, they don't really move. But they're not always, they don't always align with descriptions in the book. Like, unless the way something looks is very integral to the plot, I will just not care. Like, you can say a million times that your main character has blonde hair. If I picture him with brown hair, that's very possible. So with these places that are real, and sort of the purpose of the book being describing these real places, that didn't work with my brain. So I'd much rather it like see it on a screen where I can actually look at what things look like, rather than having to imagine it myself, which I'm not that good at. So I did end up DNFing this one as well, unfortunately, because as I said, like the writing is very beautiful and I wanted to love this book. I truly did, and I really think it is well written and I do recommend it. It just really wasn't for me. So yeah, I didn't get a page bonus because I didn't read 200 pages of this book, but I read it during peace talks, so that's 10 points for my team. And other than that, I decided to attack. Since I had already attacked all 3 teams during the weekend, I just decided to look at the cover. The cover was mostly white, and like pretty much entirely white, which is the color of Team Time, so I decided to attack Team Time. I have an animal on the cover, or the book has an animal on the cover, so that's 10 points. It has a team-related word, like living, so that's 5 points. It has an isolated setting because we're up in the mountains, and there are 5 points. It was a spinner wheel pick, 4 points. It was published for 2018, so that's 3 points. And it was a book featuring death, because there was also a passage with people, like the mountains being very dangerous and people dying in the mountains because they're not paying attention, or they're overestimating themselves, or they're surprised by suddenly a snowstorm or whatever. So there is talk about death in these mountains as well. So that gives me 2 points, which means in total I have 29 points to attack Team Time. And apparently the wheel hated me because it gave me 2 nonfiction books in a row. Because the next book it gave me is Twilight of Democracy by Anne Applebaum, which is a political nonfiction that looks at, it sort of investigates different countries that were democratic but have sort of moved away from that and are more and more going for an authoritarian regime. Anne Applebaum is born in the United States, but she lives in Poland. And so like she starts off with like the situation in Poland, and then she moves on to Hungary and what else? Spain, UK, and the US. Those are the countries that she looks at, but she also touches on history of a few different countries as well. And I think it was very well researched. I think that she really did a good job showing the parallels between all the situations, and like showing like, it starts off small and things that look like you're shaking your head at but look kind of innocent are often the start of something a lot bigger. So you really have to be careful with these things. I thought that was really, really well done. My problem with this book was my own expectations. I thought this would be more like a psychological look into why this happens and what in the human psychology makes that we, instead of like going for democracy, which is the thing that we fought for and that like we often think is like, oh, it's a great system, but why do we seem to like give that up so easily and choose for this more authoritarian form of government? Like what's the psychology behind that? I thought that would be it, but that wasn't it. It is more like a historical account and just really looking like, okay, these are the events that led to it, which I just was a little less interested in, or like I wished it was more psychological. That's what I went into it wanting from it. So it's a little sad that I didn't end up getting that. I think it's a good book if you like the project of the book, but it just wasn't the project that I wanted. I did finish it. It was interesting. It was well written. It was well researched. So yeah, I do recommend it if this is something that interests you. I decided to defend with this book. It is between 201 and 400 pages, so I get 10 points for that. It has a blue cover, so I get another 10 points, and I read it during Peace Talks, which is yet again 10 points. It was new to my TBR. That same trip I picked up Frostheart. I also impulsively decided to take this one with me, so that is 2 extra points. It has an even amount of letters in the title, which gives me 3 points, and it was a required read. I got it from the library, so that's another 3 points, which means I get 38 points for reading Twilight of Democracy by Applebaum. Then the wheel decided on another book by James Norbury, who also wrote Big Panda and Tiny Dragon, and that was The Cat Who Taught Zen, which was another like adult picture book that also fits in that same category as The Boy, the Mole, Fox, and Horse and Big Panda and Tiny Dragon. I did still really love the illustrations in this, like maybe even more than in Big Panda Tiny Dragon. This was so stunning. Like I would reread it, but only to look at the pictures, not for the story itself, because I didn't love the story necessarily. I thought it was a bit like, to say it's too on a nose is a bit weird because like these types of books always are, but even compared to other books like this, it was so incredibly on the nose, and I didn't love that. And just, it felt a bit preachy, and where we have with Big Panda and Tiny Dragon, which is with 2 friends that go on a journey, and just like discover these life lessons along the way, versus the cat who taught Zen is about this cat who goes on a journey and meets people along the way and just gives them life lessons, say, hey, this is what you need to do. And it just, I didn't love that. It in like the author's note at the end, James Norbury did say that like he's a Buddhist, and these are like tales that are often told to highlight different aspects of Zen, as if like the cat tells these people a story and then says, so like this, you have to do this. And so he sort of combined those stories in this one narrative. And while I do like that project, I wish that it would be just a little more, I don't know, it felt a bit too preachy, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. So I didn't really love this. I'm probably not going to read it for the story. Well, with Big Panda and Tiny Dragon, I would. So yeah, that was really disappointing, and it was really sad. But what do we do about it? I didn't get 10 points for it, for reading during peace talks. And then I decided to attack with it. I attacked Team Blood, which was animal in the cover, so 10 points for that. A team-related word because we had a cat in the cover, so that's another 5. Isolated setting because he's going on his journey alone and just meets these people in like the woods or up on a mountain or whatever, so 5 points for that. Spinner wheel pick, which gives me 4 points, and the author's most recent release, which gives me 1 point. So total, I have 25 points to attack Team Blood with. And then we've made it to the final spin. If you've been counting, you may protest now because I said I read 10 books and it's only the 8th spin, but it gave me the unicorn that said no, but I had that one and also the sequel on the TBR for the weekend, so I decided to just read both of those back to back. So it's 2 books for 1 spin. But so the first book, The Unicorn That Said No, is about this unicorn, and in unicorn land everyone is always happy and it's all rainbows and sunshines, you know, basic unicorn stuff. Until one day a little unicorn is born who is a bit grumpy, and who doesn't want to hang out with people and who just says no to everything. And the other unicorns don't really know what to do with him, and he's just like, just leave me alone. I'm happier if you leave me alone. I don't want to hang out with you. Like, I just want to be left alone, and then I'm good. And so he goes on a journey, and he meets other animals. They're also a little bit grumpy, and so they can just be friends and be grumpy together. And yeah, it was really good. I really liked it. I really liked the illustrations. It was also just really funny. So the problem with this is it's originally written in German, and I'm lucky enough that like Dutch and German are very closely related as languages. So like a lot of things that work in German work in Dutch as well. Not everything. But I don't know how, like, I don't know if the English translation will be really good. Not because I don't trust the translators, but just because this book heavily relies on like language humor, which in translations doesn't always work. Like a lot of puns, like for example, the unicorn that says no in German as well as in Dutch, we have like a pun between like unicorn and no. mixed together. And so like the names of almost every character is a pun. Also we have in like Unicorn Land, everything always rhymes. So like the narration and also just when people speak, it rhymes. But our grumpy unicorn is being his grumpy self and doesn't want things to rhyme. He's like, stop rhyming already. And then things stop rhyming. But like when we have the transition from like rhyming to non-rhyming, you have like the humor where you have like the first sentence and then the next one where you can sort of finish the sentence in a way that it would rhyme with the first one. That makes perfect sense. But then we use another word, which then is funny because like, you know, expectations and stuff. That type of humor, I don't think that will work in the English version. I haven't read it. I don't know it. Like I don't know if it does. But I just like I don't think it would. But yeah, I did really enjoy the unicorn that says no. I liked sort of the messaging of like, you know, you're allowed to be grumpy. Like as if being grumpy makes you happy, then go for it. So you don't have to be like smiling all day and participate in social activities if you don't want to. You can just be by yourself and say no to stuff. So I did really like that. I decided to defend with this book. So I got 10 points for reading it during Peace Talks. I got 10 points because it has a blue cover, 10 points because it has an animal on the cover, like a unicorn. It was a required read because I got it from the library, so that's 3 points. It was a popcorn read, like a children's book. It read very quickly, so I see it as a popcorn read, and it was funny, so popcorn. It was a 5-star read, so it gave me 5 points. It has an even amount of letters, which gives me 3 points, and it was new to my TBR. Like I just literally just thought of it for Realmathon to get it, so I can read it now because I've seen it a few times in bookstores and in the library, but I never picked it up, and so now I did because I thought, you know what, that would be a very quick read for Peace Talks, and I think would be funny, which it was. So it gives me a total of 46 points. And then I read the sequel, which doesn't have an English translation out, but in German it is called Das NEINhorn und die Schlangeweile. In German, in Dutch it's the NEINhorn and the Slangsam, which are puns. So we have our grumpy little unicorn who you know, doesn't want to, is being grumpy again, and he wants to be away from his grumpy friends, and so he goes on a journey, and he meets this snake who's just really bored and wants to do stuff, and every time the unicorn suggests something, he's like, oh, I don't feel like doing that, and then the unicorn is like, okay, then bye. And he goes on, but the snake was like, wait, I want to do stuff with you. And so yeah, it was really fun. He kind of joins the grumpy friend group because he's bored, but he never feels like doing something, but he's bored. And it complains about being bored, but whenever you suggest something, it's like, I don't feel like doing that, which is very relatable. I certainly do that. So, yeah, I like this one too. I didn't like it quite as much as the first book. It, like, the first book had like a little bit more charm, I felt, but I did really enjoy it still. So it still had some of the humor, like still had a lot of puns. So yeah, I enjoyed it. I also decided to defend with this one. I got 10 points for reading it during peace talks, 10 points for an animal on the cover because it does have the unicorn, and it also has a snake on the cover. I got 4 points for an author using a pseudonym because Marc Uwe-Kling, who's one of the two authors, it's by Marc Uwe-Kling and Astrid Henn. That is a synonym, not a synonym, a pseudonym. It's an anagram of his like real name. But I didn't know that when I was submitting the first book, so I can use that prompt, which like give me 4 points. That's, I could have gotten more for that other one, but oh well. It was still a required read because I also got it from the library. It was still a popcorn read, so I get 3 points for both of those. New to TBR, so 2 points, and I read it in one sitting, so I get 1 point for that, which means in total I get 33 defend points. And that was the weekend. I read so much during the weekend. So I needed a break yesterday. I didn't read anything yesterday. No, wait, that's a lie. I did listen to an audiobook yesterday because I was baking yesterday. And in the meantime, I listened to more of the Fire Prophecy. I got halfway through. And it's really interesting. We have these trials and through a team being put together for the trials, and I think it's very interesting. So Sophia, the main character, is bonded with this creature. Like early in the book, she bonded with this creature, and no one really knows what it was. But we've now found out what it is, and it's really cool. Like, I suspected that it would be something cool, and not just a random floof ball that people thought that it was. But it is really cool, and I think, yeah, I really like it. I'm very intrigued. I really want to continue on. I want to get to the trial. The trial part, I mean, the trial itself hasn't started yet, but they're training for it. And that started earlier than I thought it would. But I'm not mad. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that. I would like to finish it this month, but I have 7 hours left. I don't know if I'm going to be able to listen to 7 hours of an audiobook this month because I don't speed them up. But we'll see. I didn't really read more. Oh yeah, I mentioned that there was one book that I started that I haven't finished yet. That is my comic, which is, forgot the English title again. I always forget the English title of this, but it's the second book in the Castle and the Stars comic. You can see my bookmark. It's right here. So far, I am not quite loving this as much as the first one, both plot-wise and also the illustrations, because I really love the colors in book one, but here, because we're in space and on the moon, it's just very blue, like, and everything is very blue, and I really liked just how, like, colorful the first one was, and, like, they really popped, also because they were contrasted with other colors. Here, like, they're still very vibrant, and they still kind of pop, but because everything is blue, like, they don't stand out as much, if that makes sense. So yeah, I'm still really enjoying this, but I think that this is more gonna be like a 4-star rather than a 5-star new favorite, which the first one was. Also the plot, it's in space. I'm not always a fan of space stories. Like I don't know why, but space is just not a thing that super appeals to me. Like, I don't dislike it either, but it's just like people are really into space operas. I'm not. So yeah, I preferred it when it was still set on Earth, building the thing. So yeah, I'll probably finish this today. But yeah, that's this one. I still really recommend the series, and I still really enjoying it. But yeah. So that's it. Now that peace talks are done, and I know what I got done during peace talks, I can really start to make definitive plans for the rest of the week. So as I said, finish the comic, which is probably gonna happen today, so that's easy. Finish The Will of the Many, if that is possible. I would love to. We'll see. Because I still have, how many pages do I have left? It's 620 pages total, like before the acknowledgements and the glossary and whatever. And I'm at page 263, so that's 360 pages that I have left. For 4 days, so that's 90 pages a day. I don't know if I'm gonna get to that. But we're gonna try. We're gonna try. Then I also want to finish Sorcery, or start and finish Sorcery. I haven't started it. So I want to read Sorcery this month just to keep up with my goal. But I don't think this is going to happen this vlog. I think it's going to be during the weekend. And I can just binge it. Also finish the Mistletoe Pride because I've been reading it for way too long. So that needs to happen. And then I really wanted to finish the Fire Prophecy this month, but I don't think I'm going to do that. But I'm going to try and finish it before I'm going to Rome, because I'm leaving on the 2nd of April in the afternoon. So I still have the 1st, and I still have the 2nd in the morning to listen to it, which will also include like packing my bags for Rome. So I'll definitely be listening to it during that, if it isn't finished by then yet. So yeah, it's still very overambitious, I feel like, for 1 week. But yeah, I'm gonna try. I'm really gonna try. I really want to finish this one this month, because this is gonna give me so much points for Realmathon. But the Fire Prophecy is also gonna give me so much points for Realmathon. Oh my god. Like, maybe I should just do this one on the 1st. I don't know. We'll see. Who knows? I'll let you know when we get there. Bye. So, it's Friday, and I'm here with a final clip of the vlog. So I finished 2 things since we last spoke. First of all, the comic that I was reading, the second album in the Castle in the Stars series, which is called The Moon King. I just looked it up. I remember to look it up before I started filming. It's The Moon King in English, the title of this specific one. I did really enjoy it. This is like the conclusion to the first arc, but there are 3 arcs within this series. And I thought that it did wrap up a few things okay. And, like, I don't think it's an ending. I had expected much more of an ending from that, because also at my library, they are sort of listed as separate series, just set in the same world, and it's not that. Like, it's really one overarching series, but I believe we're gonna have like a big time skip before the next book, but the story is not finished yet. I did like this book. I still really liked the art style, but because we were in space and because of the places that we were in this book, it didn't have like the beautiful vibrant colors that I really loved in the first installment when we were still on Earth. So that was a little, like, I get it. You couldn't, like, it was a lot of blue in air, which makes sense, but it was a little bit of a shame. I thought, just personal enjoyment wise, that it was all just very blue. Like, I'm just gonna like flip through and you're gonna see that it's like very blue, all of it. I don't know if my camera really picked that up, but yeah, it's that was a bit of a shame. Also, just plot-wise, I really, like, I enjoyed the first book more. I still really like this. I still had a great time with this, but with how much I loved the first book, I think that my expectation for this one was like a little too high, maybe. So yeah, it's a bit of a shame that I don't love it as much, but I still really loved it. I think I'm at like a 4-star for this one, which is still a great rating, which is still a book I recommend. This series definitely I recommend. But yeah, I still have a little bit of the disappointment, just in comparison with the first installment. But I thought the ending of things that did wrap up was pretty nice. So yeah, I think I'm gonna give this 4 stars. Let's look at the points for Realmathon. So I used this book to defend. I don't get any page bonus because it's not enough pages, and also it's a graphic novel, comic, mangas, they don't get page bonuses. So I don't get that, but we get points for a blue cover, so that's 10 points. An animal on the cover, we have here a bird, we have on his clothes, it's like an image of a bird if you can see it. So we have some animals, so that's 10 points as well. It was required read because I got it from the library, so that's 3 points. A popcorn read, like, these are just fun. Most comics are kind of popcorny for me, so 3 points for that. And it has an even amount of letters in the title, so I get another 3 points. So in total, we get 29 points for this, which is pretty good for a comic that's like not even 70 pages long, you know? But then I also finished The Mistletoe Bride and Other Haunting Tales. Well, finished with a little caveat. I didn't read the last story. So this has a bunch of like stories. I read all like their regular short stories, but there's also a little play in the end, and I didn't read that. I decided not to because I read like the last one of the actual stories, which was called The Yellow Scarf. And I just thought that it was such a nice conclusion to this story. It brought it very full circle, and I thought that the play and the ending, I haven't read it, but I don't want to because I think it's just gonna ruin that like nice circle that has been created, and I don't want that. Like I'm just gonna pretend it doesn't exist and say I finished it. The Yellow Scarf was about a woman who is going on a trip through the English countryside to a lot of like different manors and estates and whatever. And she is at this one estate, and she sort of wanders off from the group she's traveling with, and things happen. I really liked the last story. I thought it was a lot of fun. We sort of get a, like, not really a haunting, but like sort of a ghost, but more from the experience, like from the perspective of the ghost. That sound is my dishwasher. Apologies for that. It's sort of from perspective of the ghost, like not really, but kind of, which I really liked. So yeah, I did like this story. Overall, this collection I thought was a very mixed bag, as short story collections like tend to be. But overall, I didn't really love this. Like a lot of them felt very mid to, like, you know, there were some stories that I really liked, like La Fille de Mélisande was my favorite in this collection, and I really, really, really enjoyed that. But there were others that I just didn't like at all, or just I thought were just fine. And just overall, I didn't love Kate Moss's writing. Like, it didn't bother me, because I would have DNF'd if that was a thing. Like, it was serviceable, but I'm not gonna say I liked it. So yeah, I don't know. I'm a little bit disappointed in this collection. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't love it. It's, yeah, I can see why people like this, or why people would like this, but it's just really not for me. So I'm thinking, oh, I really don't know what to rate it. And that's the hard thing with short story collections, isn't it? They're so hard to rate. I don't know, what do I do? That's the thing to worry about later. I did already submit this one as well, and I decided to attack. But I already forgot which team I attacked with this. But I attacked some team. But I don't know which one. I didn't get a page bonus because even though this is technically like 280 pages, I already read part of it in February, and so if I subtract that, I get less than 200. So no page bonus. It is a new to me author, which gives me 1 point. A book featuring death. 2 points. There's like a story that's literally called The Ship of the Dead. So it does feature death, so it's 2 points. Featuring revenge. I'm not going to say which story because it's kind of spoilery, but there is a story that heavily features revenge. So that's another 2 points. It is published before 2018. It was published in 2016, so that's 3 points. And isolated setting, like we have gothic short stories, like plenty of isolated settings to pick from. So that is 5 points, which means that in total we get 13 points to attack a realm, but I don't remember which one. So then I haven't read any more of The Will of the Many. I am probably gonna try and finish it this weekend. Like I'm just gonna take Saturday to read it. And I hope I'll finish it, because I am liking it, and I do want to finish it before I go to Rome, because I'm not going to take it because it's just really heavy, and I don't want to have to, like, put it down for a whole week. So I'm going to try to finish it before that. The audiobook I was listening to, The Fire Prophecy, I'm probably also going to finish this weekend. I'm really into it. I think I'm reaching about 2/3. And it's really nice. We've just had some, like, not like other girls action, which I don't love. But yeah, I'm really into it. I like the magic and just the whimsy of this world. It's so much fun. I am liking, like, the tournament, which is coming up. They're having, when I left off, they're, like, going towards their last training session for the tournament. So that's fun. I get really weird vibes from Sophia's sister. And I'm starting to think that she might actually turn out to be one of the villains, more than who we think the villain is right now, which is one of the teachers, but I forgot. Madame Doya, that's her name. I think she's gonna turn out being, like, she's fine, and the sister is gonna end up being the villain. Those are my predictions at this point. Yeah, I really like it. I really like her friendship with Imogen. I like like the main friend group that we've built and established. I like the characters. It's so much fun. I'm having a great time. So yeah, I'm probably gonna finish that this weekend as well. But we've reached the end of the vlog. I'm not gonna go over every book I've read this week, because with Peace Talks, it's been a lot. So I'm not gonna do that. But I hope you enjoyed the vlog. And I hope to see you again in another one, which won't be next week because I'm going to be in Rome, but the week after that, I'll be back. So I'll see you then. Bye.